Hi, I'm so happy you're here today. We are going to play around with a technique called dot coloring. And then there's also another technique called pointillism. Do you know what that is? Hi Stampers, this is Dawn and today we're going to play around with this dot coloring. I had done a little research on this kind of technique using your markers and I was really fascinated, and I don't claim to know it all about this dot coloring, but I thought it was just something that we can all experiment with, especially for those of us that like to color. For coloring today, we're going to use my Stampin Blends. I'm going to use the Mango Melody and the light and the dark. These come in the combo now, so when you purchase them, you get both the light and the dark. So we're going to use the Mango Melody along with the Pumpkin Pie, and I'm just going to be using the light color. Okay, so but I think I'm going to mainly focus on these three colors today. But I wanted to show you this card here up close, and you can see that there's a bunch of dots around my dragonfly. Isn't that beautiful? And then I also used the brand new butterfly stamp set, which is the, I think this is the Brilliance, the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set that's available right now. And this is like a background stamp of all these butterflies. I used my Stamparatus to stamp the large background stamp, and then I cut them out. And then I did this dot coloring around the butterflies. So I kept the image just black and white because I felt like the color around the butterfly really made it pop. But as I was playing around with this technique, I found that when you emboss it, like I'm using the black embossing powder for this dragonfly, and that's what I'm going to use today. So you want to use the black embossing powder, and then the black and white will even pop even more with that color around there with the dot coloring. But as I was researching this technique with the dot coloring, and I seen a lot of videos from Jennifer McGuire using this fun technique, a lot of these other techniques that were coming up that was similar, which one of them is called the pointillism. And pointillism is using, of course, the small dots, but unlike what we're going to use today, coloring outside the image, the pointillism is coloring inside the image. So if you want to use like yellow and green to make blue, you could use your two colors, yellow and green, to make blue. So when you're adding these dots in your images, it looks like from afar, it looks like a different color until you get up close. So I'm not going to go for the pointillism today. We're just going to have fun with the dot coloring. And I kind of like calling this technique coloring outside the lines. Isn't it beautiful? So simple. So with the pointillism technique for using the dot coloring, you're going to be coloring inside an image. So like for instance, I used the snail here to color it in with my dots, unlike the dragonfly, which we're coloring outside of the image. So this is the Butterfly Brilliant stamp set, and this is like a whole background stamp that I used to stamp with the Stamparatus. And I didn't emboss this butterfly or these dragonflies, but this one I did. So we're going to emboss the dragonfly, and then we're going to cut it out with the punch. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm just going to grab some basic white scrap, and I'm going to take my embossing buddy, and I'm going to stamp my dragonfly, which this is the stamp set right here, Dragonfly Garden. I'm going to use this dragonfly right up here. So this is the Butterfly Brilliant stamp set that I used for this butterfly little sample right here. Isn't that pretty? So vibrant. I love it. Okay, so we're going to emboss this dragonfly in the black embossing powder. Now, black embossing powder isn't available currently from Stampin' Up, so I had some that was left over. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to actually just go ahead and stamp a couple of them. So we're just going to punch this out with the Dragonfly punch. And this is in the bundle with the Dragonfly Garden stamp set. Plus there's a little dragonfly up there too, but we just need this full-size dragonfly. So this one I've already started on. So I just took a piece of basic white and I cut out a square. Now what I like about using when I punch them is that I can position these dragonflies wherever I want. So when you're stamping them, it gets kind of cumbersome when you're trying to stamp without stamping on one of the dragonflies. So that's what I found that's nice when you're stamping them and then punching them out and then adding them to your layer. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Stampin' Blend markers, and I'm gonna start with the light shade here. I'm gonna take my brush tip first. And what I'm gonna do is where you can see along the dragonfly where I punched it out. Hopefully you can see this. And there's a white little border around the dragonfly. So I'm gonna take the Mango Melody and I'm just going to color around that dragonfly on that edge. Okay, so I went ahead and added my Mango Melody around the edge. So hopefully you can see that now, right? So then we're going to attach this to my basic white piece. Let me get my adhesive. Okay, so we're just gonna, now this is where your punching out the image is gonna be a little bit better when you're adding it to your layer. At least that's what I found. So I'm just gonna put one right here. Okay, and then I have a couple other ones here. I've already colored them and I've already punched them out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add those as well. And you don't want them too close together because you're doing that edge around for your dot coloring. So I'm just going to, no, I don't want it that close there. Right there looks good. And then maybe this one I can put down here, right about there. Maybe right about there looks good. Okay, so you get the idea. So I'm adding the color around the edge of the dragonflies. This is going to give me an edge or a guide to where I want to start dot coloring. So then we're going to take our dark of our Mango Melody, and this time I'm going to use the nib part of the marker. So this is like the point that you could actually write with, and then the other end you have the brush tip. So we're only going to be using the nib part of the marker, and then all it is really just adding dots around that section where we added that edge of the punch out. So we're just going to start adding little dots, and I'm adding the dark of the Mango Melody first, and I'm adding it right onto that punched out edge. And then you can come out from there a little bit if you want. Let me zoom in a little bit. So you can come out from that butterfly a little bit. And then you're going to go right on to that punched out image, right where you colored that with that light shade. Okay, then I'm going to take my light of my Mango Melody and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to fill in the dots for the coloring of the edge. Now you can also add another edge of the coloring if you want to onto your cardstock to kind of make that transition of the colors a little bit smoother from that punched edge. I've done it both ways. Let's come over here. It is very pretty, this dot coloring. So you can see how it's coming together, right? And all I'm doing is just touching the marker to the around the butterfly, and then I'm going out a little bit farther from the butterfly So from afar, it looks like I've actually colored around the butterfly when I'm actually just adding a bunch of dots. That's all it is just dots. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now we're going to go around to this one over here. I'm going to start with the lighter shade on this one. And I really think that the black embossed image is so much prettier with this technique too. You'll be looking at all kinds of things to color now with your dots. I feel like I'm looking at like everything different in a different light. It's images that are like outlined images, not solid shapes, is really nice with this dot coloring technique. So anything that's got like a straight line, like the butterfly and the dragonfly, and then also that snail that I showed you earlier would be a really good image to color with this technique. Now, of course, you could add like different colors with your, like I'm using the Mango Melody. You could use all the different colors. You can make them in a rainbow. If you look up Jennifer McGuire's video, she shows you a different ways of adding your dot coloring too, like with different colors like of the rainbow, and it's beautiful too. But I feel like with me just starting like learning this technique, I kind of like just sticking with one color and just getting that down, you know. So who knows, for all of us that like to color, this is just another unique way to add color to our world and our stamping projects. Just gives it a unique twist. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm just going to go ahead and finish this one up, and then I'll bring in the other ones too to show you again. And then what else I did is I brought in a little bit of the light pumpkin pie, and that just adds even more of the depth of another color contrast to the three colors. Instead of just using the Mango Melody and the light and dark, I feel like the pumpkin pie just adds even more of a darker color to it. So like try the different colors. Like I know we have Bermuda Bay, Pool Party, and even Night of Navy. And those colors might not technically look good together, but in this dot coloring, you might be surprised. Isn't it beautiful? And then of course I would cut the edge off of the dragonflies right here so I could use this as a mat. And then that's exactly what I did for this card here. But you can tell, can you tell seriously the difference with the embossed and then just using the black ink? It's so much more vibrant, isn't it? So pretty. So try it out. I want to know what you guys think about this technique. It's so much fun. All right, let me show you the butterflies again. So here's the Butterfly Brilliant stamp set that I used just with the butterflies, and I used the die to cut those out, so you can probably see around the edges a little bit. But it does get kind of camouflaged with the dots around it. So pretty. And then here's the one with the pointillism, which is the same thing, kind of, sort of, but we're coloring an image inside with just the dots. So when you look from afar, it looks like it's been colored in, but then the closer you look at the image, you can see the dots in the image. So that's the whole idea with the pointillism. And then with the dot coloring, we're just taking it outside of the edge. So we're coloring outside the lines. I love that, don't you? All right, so hey, if you have any questions, please let me know. And also I'll have all the items that I used today down below in the description box. And then don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later. Bye.